God bless you guys. This is Sean here from Faith Brings Change. I just want to come on here because I was sitting on my bed, guys, and I need to share this with you. Again, I'm not making a prediction about anything. This is a big sign that God gave today over in Israel. I preached from the Book of Harvest from the 6th day to the 22nd day. Or to the 27th day of October, and that was 22 days of prophecy, 227 on the end day. And I told you about that whole thing seemed to plop, and everything. But I was cast in the belly of Jonah, a well of Jonah, and Jonah preached, and God told him under no uncertainty and a matter of days they're going to be destroyed, Nineveh. And God spared them because of Jonah's preaching. Well, I was, sort of set to do that. And I learned that after. And Yeshua did explain that to me, like, verbatim after. And I know not everybody's going to believe that. But nevertheless, I knew those numbers 6, 22, like, in 2027 were going to be used however they were going to be used. And I was asking for signs before. And I'm going to share this, guys. This is a big plague that happened in Israel on the 25th, and the numbers even that happened. And here we are, 27. It's April 27th right now. April is the second month of Hebrew. March, April. So that's 227, as it were. Because March is the second month, or April is the second month of the Hebrews, and we're on the 27th right now. And this happened on... That sign happened on the 25th, and that's also something I'm going to go over, but I don't know for sure, like I said, if those things are going to really happen on June 22nd, 2027. I don't know, because God could delay something. He could be saying something, but I know it's going to happen in June. My angel, before that whole sign plopped, they were already telling me, you're not ready to go up. You're not, and I knew it wasn't a rapture, but I was wondering, but they were trying to give me a hint. Basically, God basically saying, I'm not going to let this happen right now. Not going to let the 3 days of darkness happen on the 27th of October. He was hinting at me at that. But I should have noticed, because in September, I actually saw the sign for the first time of that fire of Revelation coming down. And I'm going to share this sign with you today, for the plague of Israel, because I just heard it today and it just shocked me. The falling, basically, of fire. I wanted to make sure that the 3 days of darkness were the falling ball of fire. Well, in the dream, I saw actually that ball of fire come down, and it sent darkness, and it covered everything, swallowed up everything in darkness. And my angel said, in June everything will change. And in the dream, I was in 1408, from the hotel room, the movie. This woman tried to give me a loaded gun on a platter, tried to get me to kill myself, represented fornication and get into sexual sin, but I said no. And in the dream, I said, get me out of here, please. And some unknown force flew me out of there, and I was over hundreds of feet over a body of water, and there was a building by a body of water, and it just went down, and I heard these horrible pig noises. And that was 1408 that went down, and I knew in the dream it was New York. But here's the thing, I didn't know 1408 was a hotel room in New York in the movie. I didn't know that. And so that's after that I saw that star coming down in the dream after I was taken out of that place. I saw that star come down and hit and cover everything in darkness. So like I narrowly escaped that plague. And so I woke up and I started remembering, he said June everything will change, and I was like, wait a minute, June? I got a sign when I first was told about these 3 days of darkness in May in 2020. I got a sign that I heard in my mind, because God was saying, basically, I read from the scriptures of Amos, I'll cover the earth with a cloud and I'll darken the sun. And I was saying, what's the proof you're going to cover the earth with a cloud 3 days of darkness? Because I'd already been cast in the belly of the well of Jonah, and I know it was 3 days, but it's a little much to think a whole cloud's going to cover something. And then about a day went by or so, and I heard Sahara dust cloud. And I thought, that's weird. And I ignored it. And I ignored it, and I thought I'll prophesy, but it was like something tugging on my heart. Like if you ever felt something pulling on your heart, like pay attention to this. And it came out of me out of nowhere, and I was like thinking, okay, Sahara, I can prophesy this into the dust. It'll be like Sahara dust cloud, because Sahara, I think of for Sarah, you know, the woman, like Abraham's wife that was barren, in the dust cloud, and I knew that represented something about God using dust to cover the earth, as it were, or it was like that. It was just that, and then so 2 days later, a TV report came on that I was shocked. They said that there was a dust cloud of Sahara that was covering, and we've had dust clouds before, but never when I've been given a prophecy, and then 2 days later it'll happen, like right then, and it was all related to this 3 days of darkness. And the crazy thing is, they also reported locust in West Africa. And on that report, when I got that, it was June 22nd. It was June 22nd that it was being reported. And see, I didn't put that connection there at them, but God had already told me. I'd already been planning to preach from the 6th to the 27th. And the 6th is for the 6th month, June, and the 27th, you know, if God does it in 2027, or he uses that number 2027, somehow it'll be that. But it was on the 22nd day. But it was interesting that it was on the 22nd of June that happened. And so later on, and so I was thinking, what are these plague of locusts have to do with the 3 days of darkness? But then I started thinking, and he put it in my mind about Revelation 9. And it says that there, I was like, wait a minute, the Revelation 9 says there would be locusts and there'd be darkness. What if that's that? And I said, God, you're going to have to confirm that after I got that Sahara dust cloud sign, you're going to have to confirm that the 3 days of darkness are related to that locust. And that's Revelation 9, because it doesn't say how long it'll get dark. And so after that month of June, July, August, September, that's 3 months later. I'm just thinking about that now, 3 months. I think it was September 27th. And there you go, that 27 again. 3 months later in the 27th. I dreamt I was in that hotel room of 1408 and all that business, and I was heard June everything would change, and I woke up and I was asking June what? And I was already thinking it might be 2027. And at this point, guys, I was expecting the 3 days of darkness to happen on October 27th of that year, and then 7 years later or whatever, the 2 witnesses would come and preach 3.5 years, and that's what it was assigned for. But he never explained what the numbers were. He just been given them to me. So anyways, basically, when I woke up after seeing that sign of locust of 3 days of darkness, and him telling me June everything changed, I was like, wait a second. Didn't he give me a sign of the Sahara dust cloud that happened in June? And I went back to look to see when that article came out, and it was June 22nd for me. And I was shocked, because before I'd received that June 22nd, like I said, I received that dream. I was told everything would change in June, you know. And I woke up and I said, June what? And I put it on a calendar of numbers. And somehow the calendar switched to 22 by itself. And I was already thinking June 22. And I was thinking it switched to 22 by itself. And I already got June, everything will change. And I was thinking of the year 2027. And so if he did it in the year 2027. But this is what is crazy about it. Because I was like, wait, when did that sign of the Sahara dust cloud happen? And I looked, and it was the June 22nd. And so for me to get June 22nd, and me be thinking of 2027 maybe, and then me to go back and look at that sign of the Sahara dust cloud, and it happened June 22nd, made me kind of got my attention. And also another thing that got my attention was I woke up, looked up the release date of 1408. And it was June 22nd, 2007 that movie was released. And so I was thinking, after all this failed, what if all this time I was prophesying of that date? And my whole October thing was just a prophecy. And you might say, why October? Well, October is the 8th month in the Hebrew. in the 8th month, as the 8 souls were saved. And that's also the month the flood was sent of Noah. And also, October is the 10th month also for us, and it talks about the 10th of the servants of God returning as a till tree, and there's 10 commandments also, and it said, remember the law of my servant Moses. I will send you Elijah the prophet. He will preach before the coming of the day of the Lord, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest otherwise I come and strike the earth with a curse. And so it seems like my mission was to prevent the curse from coming. But you read from Scripture that clearly the curse does come in Revelation, so it was to give us some more time. But now I want to share with this plague. Mike44, his channel, he has 7.3K subscribers. At 27, that 3 Days of Darkness it makes me think of. And that 4 + 4 + 4 of his name is for like represents the number 12, as in Revelation 12. And Mike means basically who is like God. That's what it means. But he shared a sign of a plague of locusts happening in Israel. A plague of locusts. I was already thinking of this morning about the 3 Days of Darkness and the locust, and what it represent, how they had crowns like gold, and faces of men and hair of women because they stole the glory of God, and the faces of men because they stored the image of a man, and their crowns because they stored their crowns of life, as it were. But by getting them into sin, and those long legs hopping back and forth into sin, that's what they were for, sort of. But a plague of locusts was big in Israel. It happened on 2/25. He's reporting it on 27th of April today. And just last week, I asked God, give me more signs of this darkness. Could you do something on maybe April of 27, because that would be 227, because I knew the Hebrew April was the 2nd month, and I knew it was the 27th day. Could you give me some sign by then? And now that sign happened on the 25th of 2/25, but it also it was only reported to me, it was given to me the time that I asked for it, and that's the point. And I can share with you about 2/25, guys. If this sign did happen on June 22nd, whether you want to argue it's 2027 or whenever it is, if it did, the 3 Days of Darkness, if it did on the 22nd, it would be 23rd, 24th, 25th of June. And so that's the 2/25 right there. That's what you got right there, 2/25. And so it'd be indication that would be the time people were taken out of the darkness. And if God does it at that time or whatever. But these numbers I know he's going to use. I know definitely now I know for sure it's going to happen in June, for sure. He made it clear to me that the 3 Days of Darkness are going to happen in June. And I did preach from October, because that was harvest, because I was prophesying the harvest. And I said the harvest is now, or I said something at the end of the 227th chapter. And so it was a prophecy of things to come. And I know whatever it is now, that's going to happen, because I did count 1,260 days after June, and it brought me to December. And I know December, when I read the Bible, the 2 witnesses, that's the time basically after June, after the 3 days of darkness are over, the 2 witnesses immediately begin preaching. And then 1,260 days later, they finish their testimony. The beast comes out of the pit, makes war with them, and kills them. And so, seeing the 1,260 days after June, after I counted, bringing me up to December, I don't doubt it now, because it says they're sending gifts to each other, the whole world, when these 2 witnesses are killed. And so, them sending gifts to each other on the time of December, like Christmas, I don't doubt it now. Also, if it does happen in 2027, from the time of I was saved in 2005, and there's that 25 again. I told you, like, if they're taken out of the darkness, but I was as one taken out of darkness, as it were. But if it does that from 2005 all the way to 2027, that will be 22 years. And if we had a 7-year tribulation starting then in 2027, that would be another 7 years. So 227, 22 years from 2025 after the time I was saved, and 7 years on for a tribulation, 227, if God does that. So I also noticed that God told me during that time not to shave when I was prophesying, and my hair kind of got all rugged, and I heard about John the Baptist not, like, being like a wild man, and I just decided to do it. I didn't want to not shave. I mean, I always had a beard and stuff, and I'm not always a good shaver, but I didn't just want to keep my hair growing out because I lost my hair in some spots. I started shaving it. I used to have long hair, and I just lost it, and so I kind of went for a Jason Statham look. I just shaved it off because if I keep growing it out, it'll be no hair in one spot or whatever. But that's just how it happened for me. But he told me to shave after that, and I noticed that Joseph was brought out of prison, and he was told to shave. He was I thought of this later. He was told to shave, and he was given gave a prophecy to what do you call it? The king of Egypt, I believe, or the Pharaoh, that there was going to be, of his 7-year dream, he interpreted there would be 7 years of plenty after the time that he was brought out of prison and shaved. And then there would be a 7-year famine. And it was interesting that he called me by the name of Joseph a few days later after that prophecy failed, and he told me to shave. And I didn't think about that. He told me to shave first, and then a few days later went by, and he called me by the name of Joseph and talked about storing up 7 years of grain from 2020. And so, from 2020. And so me shaving and then me getting the whole 7 years of plenty thing, I went back and I looked at Joseph's story. And so my story is related to Joseph. And it was 15 years, after his betrayal that he was brought out of prison, and he was told to store up for a 7-year, a plenty. And so 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 15 years of his betrayal and 7 years of the plenty make 22. And then 7 years make that 7-year famine of Joseph. So Joseph actually, from the time of his betrayal to the famine, that's 227. 22 years, 7 years. And so my story is Joseph's story. If he does this then, and there could be multiples, the only other time I can see that this time would happen, and this is crazy, if it didn't happen then, was be all the way in. And I'm not trying to just interpret things, guys. It's just that God gave me these signs, and I didn't ask for them. He gave me these numbers. He's the one who gave them to me. I didn't physically ask them. I was just trying to get people out of sin. He cast me in the well of Jonah, and he literally put numbers right in front of me. Things that I went back and I saw in the Bible, like I'm talking to you right now. And so it's clear, whatever he's doing, he's wanting us to pay attention to. But the other time I could see it is 2070, and that's a long ways away. And I did hear a prophecy of Bob Jones years ago that said that, I don't know if he saw it right or not, but we had all the way up into 2060. But I doubt that now, because God told me it wouldn't last that long. He kind of corrected me when he gave me these things, and I kept thinking when I was interpreting these things that we would have more time, and he kept correcting me about it. And so we're gonna find out, guys. But it's pretty eerie that at least I'm getting the same pattern as Joseph got in his pattern. It failed for me because Joseph, when he was brought out of prison, maybe he expected everything to happen right then, that his brothers would return. His brothers would, he would rule over them, as it were. And I don't mean in a bad way. I just mean that he'd get recompense because he was really hurt and betrayed, And God gave him a dream. Maybe he thought it would happen right then, but his brothers didn't really come to him until the 7-year famine. And so he had to wait an additional 7 years. And so from 2005 to 2020, that was, that was 15 years. And I would have to at least wait another 7. that 7 years of plenty for that 7 years of famine, that's when his brothers came back and returned to him during that 7-year famine. And that's when he was able to provide for them. And because his betrayal, they betrayed him, was able to save him. And you think about his 11 brothers plus him, that's 12.